breaking news coming in as we speak. President Donald Trump has wished Prime Minister Modi on his birthday, and Prime Minister Modi has put out this post on social media saying, "Thank you, my friend President Trump, for your phone call and warm greetings on my 75th birthday. Like you, I'm also fully committed to taking the India-US comprehensive and global partnership." Now, these are very important words that are being used. Every word matters. So, India-US comprehensive and global partnership to new heights. We support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict. Now, viewers, this is extremely significant. On the eve of Prime Minister Modi's birthday, there's a phone call that has come in wishing him from President Trump. It also indicates that the thaw in the relationship, the warming of ties is very much there. This follows President Trump's olive branch that came in, and when he extended the olive branch last week, which has been followed by the talks that took place between the trade negotiators on both sides, and that has now been followed by President Trump wishing Prime Minister Modi on his birthday. So extremely significant sequence of events where the words, the phrases that have been used by the Prime Minister, comprehensive global partnership to be taken to new heights. This is the phrase. And then Prime Minister Modi also goes on to say the peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict that President Trump is chasing and is looking for is something that that India fully supports. I believe Aditya is with us on the phone line for more on this. Aditya Rajkol, my colleague, joins us on the phone line. Extremely significant, Aditya. This comes on a day there have been a series of very important developments that have come in, and that, of course, culminates with a phone call between the two leaders.
Well, certainly, Gauri, this is a much-awaited phone call. We've been waiting for weeks for this phone call to take place, and what better day on Prime Minister's birthday. And in fact, Donald Trump, the US President, is the first global leader to personally call Prime Minister Narendra Modi and wish him on his birthday. In fact, Prime Minister Modi going on to thank Donald Trump for the phone call and the warm greetings on the 75th birthday, and says that he's fully committed to taking the India-US comprehensive global partnership to new heights, and supports towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict. So certainly there has been an icebreaker. There have also been backroom dialogues that have been underway. Back channel has been very active over the last couple of weeks. We've seen United States also softening its stance. And Gauri, as you rightly pointed out, today has been a hectic day for the chief negotiators of both Washington, D.C. and New Delhi, who have been in hectic parleys for the last 7 hours, and in fact told NDTV that the meetings have been very positive. So it does seem that perhaps in the next couple of months there could be a possibility of a trade deal being inked between these countries. But the statements and the bonhomie on social media being witnessed between Modi and Trump does remind us of the first term of Trump, which saw a lot of bonhomie, a lot of color, a lot of vibrant energy between India and the United States. So, of course, a big statement from Prime Minister Modi thanking Donald Trump for the positive and certainly the wishes that have come in.
And very important, where we must point out that the message that Prime Minister Modi has put out says, "Thank you, my friend, President Trump." Now, that every word matters, and I'm going to get into Vishnu's show as well for more on this. Now, Vishnu, we've been talking about the warming of ties between India and US after those very significant slurs and jibes that came in from the Trump administration. The fact that that President Trump is the first world leader to wish Prime Minister Modi, the fact that there's been phrases that have been used, comprehensive global partnership to be taken to new heights, indicates that both leaders are cognizant of bringing this relationship back on track, scaling it, and looking at it on a 360-degree basis.
I think we want to fix the relationship which had gone sour, with several questions being raised on the diplomatic relationship itself. It had gone sour as a result of the trade agreement between India and the US not making headway, and because of India's continued import of Russian oil. Now, while that may not necessarily change, the fact that the US is coming around, specifically Donald Trump himself, is significant. As you pointed out, the words that he's used, Prime Minister Modi, in referring to President Trump as his friend, "Thank you, my friend, for your phone call and warm greetings on my 75th birthday. Like you, I am also fully committed to taking the India-US comprehensive global partnership to new heights. Now, that's important because that's the premise and the basis of the relationship between the United States and India. It's a massive relationship. It's been built up over 25 years. And in as much as India has an autonomous foreign policy where we look at countries like Russia very closely, which have been a historical partner, there is little doubt that America remains a very big trading partner, potentially an even larger trading partner if there is a breakthrough in the trade talks between the two countries. But there's a defense relationship as well. There's a people-to-people relationship. And therefore, if there is an effort now at righting that relationship, which appeared to have gone sour, not least of all because of statements made by Donald Trump and his White House advisor, Pete Navarro, then I would suggest that that's a welcome development in the relationship between the two sides. And it augurs well for any potential deal, working out in terms of a trade agreement. So I don't think there is anything that India would do to take away from our position, which has been that we are autonomous. We'll continue to work this the way it works for us in terms of a trade deal and our economic interests with regard to the import of oil. But absolutely,
Yes.
America remains a priority for us as well. We are a global strategic partnership. And I think the fact that the Prime Minister and Donald Trump have had such a warm sort of exchange augurs well for the relationship.
Absolutely, and that's where the ties need to start warming, which is at the level of the leadership, which is at the level of Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, where you call each other my friend. The fact that there is a comprehensive global partnership that both are looking to scale this up further is indicative of the intent on both sides to look at the other strategic aspects of this relationship, which has been dominated in the last couple of weeks due to the trade deal where there's not been a meeting of minds. But it also comes on a day when both sides are at least looking to bring the talks back on track. That also needs to be pointed out. And I think that is equally significant as well. Now, Vishnu, from here on, if we were to look at what lies ahead, the fact that the two leaders have exchanged pleasantries, the fact that President Trump is the first leader to reach out and wish Prime Minister Modi, in terms of what is it that we are looking at? In fact, Vishnu, stay with me because I want to quickly now rope in Daniel Block as well, senior editor of Foreign Affairs magazine, joining me for more on this. Daniel, your first thoughts on this phone call that has taken place between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump comes after weeks of some very nasty comments that came in from the Trump administration that soured the relationship a bit. But how do you see this now? The leaders talking, a phone call, Prime Minister Modi being greeted by President Trump, and he becoming the first leader to be wishing him.
Well, I see it as more evidence that we're seeing a slight warming of ties, maybe a thaw in tensions between the United States and India. That after weeks upon weeks of rising tensions and tariffs and anger, both sides appear to be looking for ways to de-escalate a little bit. And we've seen other pieces of evidence of this over the last couple of weeks. We saw Trump, again, talk about how India and the United States had a special relationship. We've seen increased talks and contact between high-level economic officials in both countries. So it seems like there is a kind of fundamental recognition among both parties that this is an important relationship for both sides, that they do want to salvage it if they can. And I think that what's happened here is just more evidence of that fact.
Right. It is evidence of the fact that both sides are willing to move forward on this. Now, Daniel, sitting in DC, now, how do you see this moving forward from here on? There's been a warming of ties. There's been an olive branch extended by President Trump. Both sides are looking to work out some of the differences they have with regards to the trade deal. And this exchange of pleasantries and a phone call between the two leaders. How do you see this in DC, and where do you see this going from here on?
I think there are two different currents at work here. The first is the kind of general geopolitical reality of the situation, which is that these countries have a lot to offer each other in terms of friendship. And there's longstanding currents in both of them, in both governments, that want to push for closer ties. And those still exist. They're going to be at work. I think we see them at work here. At the other end of it, though, you have the fact that Trump is a very erratic president. He changes his mind often. He's easily slighted. And both Trump and Modi have strong nationalistic images that they like to project of themselves. They want to be viewed as strong, proud leaders. And I think that that means this is still a combustible situation. We're seeing a warming of ties now. We're seeing, it seems, the geopolitical imperatives taking control again. But it's hard to say going forward. I mean, we could have another incident in an hour, in a week, in a day, where suddenly
Daniel, you're going into the realm of too many uncertainties, but that's just one aspect of it. But as things stand right now, there is a very important development that has taken place. Aditya joins me live as well. Vishnu Shom is on the phone line, and let's get all of them on the screen as well. Now, Aditya, let me come to you first, which is that as things stand right now, there is a very important development where President Trump has wished Prime Minister Modi on his 75th birthday, becoming the first world leader at a time when there are talks about, how soon can the two of them, the two countries, get back on the trajectory towards closing a trade deal. There are also several other aspects of the relationship that are likely to be prioritized and will be in focus. Walk us through the significance of this phone call and what are we looking at from here on?
Well, it's quite significant, really. There have been positive statements in the last couple of weeks that have been coming in regularly from the Trump administration, and that's a departure from what we have witnessed over the last couple of months. Be it Peter Navarro's nasty remarks on India, the Maharaja of tariffs, jibe. Apart from that, also that Brahmins have been profiteering. But in my understanding, and you were with me, Gauri, when we were in Tianjin covering the SCO summit, that kind of a huddle between Modi, Putin, and Xi Jinping sent shockwaves in Washington, D.C. And there was a social media post on Truth Social by Trump suggesting that India and Russia have been lost to United States, has been lost by United States to China. That really meant that there had to be a recalibration of thought process, of diplomacy in the White House, in the office of the US Secretary of State. And that's when we had a very loud message from Trump saying that Modi is a friend and there will not be a problem. There is nothing to worry about. And then Marco Rubio went on to say that India is the top relationship. So there is, of course, a lot of economics into it, that Indian market access that US requires. And of course, there will be deliberations and consensus reached in the trade talks. Today, there was a 7-hour-long discussion between India's chief negotiator and his counterpart. And finally, they described, when I spoke to them, they said that it was a positive meeting. And the 6th round of the trade dialogue will happen very soon. So President Trump becoming the first global leader to wish Prime Minister Modi, there are a lot of optics in this as well.
Absolutely.
So that's...
Aditya, hold that thought. I'll come back to you on the optics bit. Let's also get in Shiv Arur, Managing Editor, NDTV, joining me on the broadcast, the phone line. Shiv, every word matters at this level. And the fact that Prime Minister Modi has said, I got a phone call from my friend Donald Trump, that tells you that how things are now looking up from what they were just a fortnight back.
Very true, Gauri. In a relationship where the personal bonhomie between Trump and Modi has been such a defining feature, I think both sides have been shocked by the deterioration in the language that has been used by Trump over the last few weeks, which has taken the relationship to a historic kind of turbulent low. But since last week, when Trump, called Prime Minister Modi his very good friend, and now calling him to wish him on his birthday, and Prime Minister Modi reciprocating with a very warm message, calling him, my good friend Donald Trump, and also talking about supporting the, peace initiative in Ukraine, is a hugely substantive message that I think goes beyond just the usual dynamic between these two leaders of two large democracies. They have put themselves and their personalities front and center in this relationship. That has come in for some criticism in the recent past, as you've seen, Gauri, as a result of the manner in which things sort of nosedived as a result of the trade talks and the tariffs, etc. But this is Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump very much in their personal element. Their affection for each other is on prominent display, as it has been at different times in the past. We must remember that the damage caused to the India-US relationship as a result of the last few weeks is something that needs to be kept in view at all times. Trump continues to be a whimsical politician,
Indeed.
who deploys affection and hostility and aggression at whim, depending on what his mood is and what really he wants from an administrative perspective. But I think the affection and the bonhomie between the two leaders is very much real. That cannot be ignored. And it should also be recognized, as you and your team will be tracking very closely, Gauri, that apart from the bromance or the friendship and the affection between the two leaders, the last line of Prime Minister Modi's tweet is perhaps the most important. That might actually be the big icebreaker. India has not acknowledged America's role in the ceasefire during Sindoor. But here you have Prime Minister Modi saying that India supports Trump's initiative for peace
Absolutely.
in Ukraine is a huge comment to make. It is a concession. It is a diplomatic, olive branch in many ways from Modi to Trump, and it should be interpreted really as perhaps the most substantive, gift that the Indian government has given to Trump. Trump wants acknowledgement. He wants the initiative in Ukraine and Russia to be seen as his own personal project, and here is Modi pretty much giving him that. It's not a small feat.
Absolutely. And let's get Vishnu Shom on just that bit, the significance of the last line of the PM's message, which is that we support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict. When you dovetail that to the Russian oil purchase by India, India's autonomous decision to protect its energy interests, all of that sort of come back and become the larger piece as far as this entire relationship is concerned. Vishnu, your thoughts on that bit that has been highlighted?
I think, Gauri, the key point over here is that, we need to ensure that we don't get ahead of ourselves. We often tend to do that because we can get very excitable and happy, and, we've seen this low in the India-US relationship, and now there's something to cheer about. And I think that's all positive, it's all good, but, I think as Daniel was mentioning and as Shiv reiterated, it's important to understand that, Trump has been fairly whimsical, and that what he says today may not be the same as what he says tomorrow. That said, he has repeatedly said, as Trump, that Modi is his friend, despite all of what we've seen in the last several weeks. He keeps every second sentence sort of saying, Modi has been my friend. So that friendship endures, that's great. And as far as the statement on Ukraine is concerned, India supports all initiatives towards bringing an end to the war. And that's something that our Prime Minister has conveyed both to President Putin and to President Zelensky as well. So I don't think India has really stated, or the Prime Minister has stated anything incredibly different or new about India's foreign policy. But I do believe that the timing of the statement is significant. It comes when both sides are trying to figure out a trade deal. It does indicate that after several hours of talks, the tone of this message seems to indicate that there could be some progress forward. But until that deal is closed and the entire relationship is righted, and that entire issue of trust, which is the premise of the relationship, is fixed, I would suggest we look at all of this as an optimistic move forward, but we remain cautious about how we report it.
Now, summing it up perfectly, Vishnu, and let's get Daniel to respond to that, which is the cautious optimism part of it, which is that at one level there's been progress, but how can India really overcome the trust deficit that has come in because of those comments from the Trump administration side? Yes, there's warming of ties. Yes, there is progress. Yes, there's movement. So the message today indicates that both leaders are looking at a warm relationship. But what about the trust deficit, Daniel?
Well, I think there's only so much you can do to overcome that trust deficit, given everything that we've talked about, particularly the erratic behavior and temperament of Trump. And now I do think that we are right to be cautiously optimistic given everything we've seen, and again, given the structural forces at work here. But look, this is a president who changes his mind all the time, who is easily slighted, who has made no secret of the fact that he loves to issue tariffs. He says that tariff is his favorite word in the English language. So I think there's only so much you can really do to overcome that trust deficit. And really what's driving things forward right now is a sense that the relationship may be too big to fail. And perhaps that is enough, in order to give this some momentum and carry it forward. But I think there's always going to be, so long as Trump is in office, some lingering distrust from the Indians.
Right. Ghazali, let me get you in as well. You've been working the phones in South Block. What are they saying about the optics that are at play here?
See, Gauri, this could not have come at a better time when we already have a trade team in India, and the entire focus is on the trade talks which have been going, and a lot of positive kind of vibes are coming since this meeting happened. You already had the US embassy tweeting about some positive relations, indicating that India and US are a strategic partner, and then this call. And as Vishnu and Shiv were pointing out, that how India is acknowledging Trump's effort to get peace in the European conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Something we all know, that how Trump loves being acknowledged by the global leaders, how some of them are even pushing for Nobel Prize for Trump. And this is something which also shows that, yes, we have to be cautious enough, because we know that how Trump keeps changing his statements as well. Calling Mr. Modi friend, he went ahead with the tariff thing as well. And even while announcing those tariff and punitive measures, he kept calling India as a friend as well. But this is certainly a very positive development, and on building on this, perhaps we may have all the positive outcomes of the trade talks, because that is the first kind of block which India is hitting as far as Indo-US relations are concerned. Despite having joint military exercises, despite having all the back channel talks, this is certainly an upfront positive development between the two countries.
Let's get in Aditya Raj call as well on that note. Aditya, you tracked that meeting between the trade negotiators of both sides. It was a long day, 7 hours of discussions, and it looks like that there is a positive momentum to those talks. And the discussion between the two leaders comes on a day when there is that positive momentum to the talks. How does one read this going forward?
Well, Gauri, both sides have been trying to reset the ties really, because we've seen a kind of regular statements on a daily basis coming in, particularly from Peter Navarro, that haven't really been taken lightly by the Indian government or the Indian commentators, where he has been continuously attacking the government. But now there's been, of course, a departure. There's been a back channel that's been underway over the last few weeks. And we've seen a softening of the stance and some kind of positive statements coming in from the Trump administration, from top to bottom, from Trump to Marco Rubio to the Secretary of Treasury as well. So we could possibly see, not immediately, but after sustained dialogue, some kind of a trade deal that we can arrive at least the beginning of the first trends really between October and November. Of course, Trump is very unpredictable. Within the next 24 hours, he can change his stance. But as of now, looking at the statements that have come out in the last 5 to 10 days, it does seem that we are heading towards a positive trajectory, and there could be inking of a trade deal by the end of the year. And that's when November is the time when Trump has given a deadline to the trade negotiators to come out with a trade deal. So it could be a win-win situation for both. India, of course, will stand with strategic autonomy, will continue to trade and have Russian oil capacities. But at the same time, US would want more market access. US would want the tariff to really go across. And we'll have to wait and watch how things unfold. But possibly in the next 48 hours, there could be more statements after this friendly bonhomie between Modi and Donald Trump.
All right, we leave it there. Thanks so much for all of you to be joining in. Daniel, Ghazali and Aditya for joining me on this broadcast. Breaking news that's coming in right now, viewers, which is that Prime Minister Modi, and on the eve of his 75th birthday, President Trump spoke to him, and Prime Minister Modi put out that message indicating that there's been a warm greeting that has been exchanged, and there's a shared commitment to the India-US comprehensive and global partnership. Now, what lies ahead? How much of this momentum will carry forward towards a trade deal? How soon will that happen? The other aspects of the relationship, will that now become the prime focus once the trade deal is done? Are questions that we will seek answers to, and NDTV will continue to get you all those details and updates as they happen.